Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC, the most serious League of Legends in the world, as we are going to be jumping through into Game 3 very shortly. And, gents, this is, on paper, at least looking like one of our closer matchups of the evening, with Vanir taking on Domino. So I'm wondering, Sam, do you want to take us through what's Vanir have been doing well over the course of this split?
Absolutely can do. And I'm aware that things that have been on paper today have largely proven to be slightly untrue over the last couple of games. So we'll see where this analysis takes us. It feels like teams are out to prove us very, very wrong. But Vanir picked up a monumental win yesterday against Verdant. They did what Unique couldn't quite do in that last game and managed to close out the end game. And they did that with a new AD carry in, of course, Moxox, who did a really good job in the bot lane, replacing Liam as well, who has largely been the star in a lot of those wins for Vanir. They felt, even with the new player, they felt a lot cleaner. They felt like they could play those late game scenarios out and were willing to make the plays that got them into that end game. They've still got an AD carry who can play very scarily, and potentially against a team like Domino, who have also been a little inconsistent and have had some issues with some of the laning from certain members, they might well be able to cinch a win here that will be very, very important for trying to fight Nord for that 4th place in playoffs.
Yeah, and then when you do think about Domino and a few of those issues, it has come from the mid lane, I think, more often than not.
Yeah, we've seen Clover 7 be a little bit volatile in that mid lane. I think it's the polite way of putting it. Certainly not pulling the weight that the rest of his team has been in other areas of the map. But I think it's those other areas of the map that favour or that give Domino so much credence for this matchup specifically. Because Shackle has been maybe my best performing player on Domino the entire split. I don't think that's a particularly bold take to go for. Has been really strong at particularly killing marksmen and killing AD carries. And I think going into this matchup, we have the entire prediction squad of our team, of our broadcast crew, actually had Domino winning. And it's by no means representative of how close this game was.
I see a dissent.
Twitter voted for Vanir.
Twitter aren't part of the broadcast team, are they, Middlecourt? So
it's like
you're saying chat isn't part of it. You're saying chat isn't part of the broadcast team.
Whoa.
You were about to get
Twitch don't
flamed
vote. Are we streaming to Twitter, Sam? Are we streaming to Twitter?
I feel like there are clips on Twitter and that counts by association. It's like I'm just making. I don't know.
I don't know. They might release like a video streaming platform in the next 2 weeks that's been
oh boy, yeah,
duct taped together with various bits of code that have been copied off GitHub repositories that are not safe to use. But you sort of alluded a little bit to the fact that we do favour Domino in this matchup because of those stylistic advantages. Shackle, he's been really great on stuff like the Gragas and his Lee Sin in particular at countering that aggression. So I kind of want to go one step further than that, almost, guys. One step beyond, if we're willing to dive into a little bit of madness. And how do Vanir counter a team like Domino who have this propensity for the flanks for these wacky engages?
So I think part of it will be on PP Bat to step up a little bit to at least make sure he knows where Shackle is going. And 2, let's be real, Clover in the mid lane has been a weak laner. If Harbo, who has actually been a really good facilitator, really good setup, can set up a kill on Clover 7 with some assistance from, say, Garfield and PP Bat coming in, you can shut down that mid laner, prevent Domino from getting to those team fights where they are so scary, and kind of exploit that weakness a little bit. But it is partly tracking the jungle, it is partly making sure that mid lane is taken out of the game, as has happened a few times to Domino.
But on the other side, I think for Vanir, all about the AD carry, right? Doesn't matter who it is, Moxox or Liam Cole. The champion seems to be the only variable in terms of their playstyle. But top lane could also be a fairly interesting matchup because whilst coming into the split, Spuda and Quintana were really hyped up as these bruiser players that could get a lot of kills and snowball throughout the game. For the most part, it feels like they've been subdued onto tankier stuff like the Ornn and the Cassante.
I will say, Olaf not banned.
Yeah.
Really?
Spuda has been drawing Olaf bans the entire split long, and
right, so a little bit of context for the window. Kitano and Spuda did play against each other in the window dodgeball. I don't know if that's gone out on social, so I'm not going to reveal the result on that. But
is that the other semi-final?
No, that was first week. I think Spuda was able to get the dub in the end. So Mundo mechanics clearly on the Domino side.
I mean, serious credit. I know we're going a little bit off tangent, but like having J-Real in a boat on river, like that's incredible on-site reporting. I feel like Patrick Porpoise has actually got some serious competition coming in the reporting scene within within League of Legends in Europe. So I'm just saying, maybe get on the scene a bit more, as we have got the ever so common response of a powerful first pick in like a Rel or a Tristana traded up with a Kai'Sa every time on red side, it feels like today.
Any Xayahs? Do I have any Xayahs to take? I feel like Xayah is just the common trade. Tristana is also an option that you can
LeBlanc
answer with here. LeBlanc is actually one of the champs that we've seen Clover 7 win a match on. Was Static Shift LeBlanc a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, it's a difficult lane, I'm going to say, versus that Syndra. Scatter the Weak is a direct counter to Distortion because you get interrupted, all of the damage is gone. Now, of course, the way LeBlanc plays, Distortion hasn't become so much for damage later on and more so for the maneuverability. But in that laning phase, it is still difficult.
Yeah,
and shock to everybody, Xayah gets locked in as well.
Yeah, of course. The AD carry with lots of disengage that also happens to do a crazy amount of damage. But I'm interested in this first rotation for Vanir because it matches two of the real problem champions that Verdant had on their squad in the last game, right? It was the long range, the medium long range poke and engage that the Syndra can put out, and then the AP Kai'Sa with the Void Seekers from downtown. Domino need to find an ability to actually engage onto Vanir in the late game stages, otherwise they're going to be really hard to deal with.
I really like this pick of the Kindred. It allows people to be a bit more aggressive, to make sure things are happening early, and potentially deal with someone like Shackle and Snabby, who have been a scary duo. Now you've got Kindred Syndra as a potentially very scary kill combo. Yes, it's not the Lee Sin, but Kindred early on, very capable of snowballing, very capable of potentially punishing a weaker laner like Clover 7, or duoing up and roaming down towards the bot lane and trying to get Moxox ahead, as has been a common thing for Vanir. Banning away some of those top laners on both sides now, though, to try and narrow down the pool for both top laners.
Wouldn't mind seeing Vanir fully just pivot into this absorption style of composition where they just don't need to go forward. They're playing against a Rel. Rel goes forward very well. She also re-engages and counter-engages very well also. So if you're playing on that firm back foot, I really don't mind that as an option for Vanir. They've got a lot of poke to start things off with Moxox as well. So things like, weirdly enough, Janna, Enchanters just in general, for me the priority on those go through the roof when you're trying to play a disengaged style of composition. Yes, Gragas in the top lane spanned away, but even if it's just having a big front line for Kitano, it's not particularly been in his wheelhouse, but it would work well.
You still got things like the Poppy available. Kennen can do some zone control. Maybe the Cassante. Renekton kind of at least can buy some frontline space. I can see that being an option. There definitely are some tools, and I kind of like leaving the support for counter pick, especially considering, as we've said, Vanir's propensity to play through bot lane. It does feel like something that we have seen a bit of, especially if you're looking to draft something a bit spicy like a Blitzcrank. Knowing what you're going into really helps to allow for a pick like that.
Yeah, I think if you're leaving your support to R5, it's got to be something that changes the complexion of the game, because you already know what the enemy bot lane is going to be playing, and you've known it from the first phase. So the Renekton is a safe blind. It's not really going to change the way that your entire composition has to play, but whatever Garfield is going to be picking needs to do something that Domino aren't expecting.
It's worth mentioning as well that the Rel could theoretically go jungle, so them holding support counter pick is in line with the fact that they don't actually fully know what's going down into that bot side of the map. But instantly, if you wanted aggression from Shackle, if you wanted anything to try and answer AD carries that do very well, Lee Sin Jax seems right in that wheelhouse.
I'm seeing the Ahri hover, and I really don't want to see an Ahri support because I will have Nymera bursting in here to explain all the intricacies, and we don't want that. That's a bad time for everyone involved. So instead, they're debating something like a Soraka, which would be, again, a part about that absorption idea. Instead, Nautilus, more CC, someone dives on top of your Kai'Sa, you stand next to her, you press your auto attack key, you root someone in place. Especially now you've got a Jax, a Rel, a LeBlanc, a Lee Sin, all flying for some of these carries' heads. You do need as many tools to prevent that as you possibly can.
I think I would have preferred Leona here, I'm going to be honest. And I am getting really bogged down in the minutiae right now, but Xayah versus Nautilus, very easy for the Xayah. You just ult the ult, right? For example, where when you've got things like a Leona as well, and I think specifically versus the Lee Sin, there's that I can't miss my auto attack style, where again, that does exist for the Nautilus, but a root versus a stun, again, just a little better favoured for a Leona. I doubt it's going to matter too much. It's just something that that just came off the top, and I think if it had have been focused specifically on the game itself, it would have looked a lot better. But versus a Rel in the laning phase, the Nautilus probably offers you more as an option with that dredge line to interrupt the engage as well.
It's just kind of a classic combo with the Kai'Sa, regardless of the build that you end up going towards. But the mid lane jungle that Domino have locked in, Lee Sin, LeBlanc, this feels like a combo where if it doesn't get accelerated in the first 10-15 minutes, even with Shackle's ability to get creative on the map, it's going to be so hard to actually find an impact.
I agree with you there. And I think I will also say in the green room, we had a bit of a conversation about how Clover7 used to play when he was on his other teams, when he was with a Chinese-speaking jungler, where it was way less about the lane, which has always been, at least this year and this split, significantly his weaker point. It's about his coordination with a jungler and getting out of lane, getting kills happening. That's always been his strength. Lee Sin LeBlanc offers that kill combo, offers that synergy with your jungler. Can they execute, though?
Tough question to ask, because yes, it's a combo that you've got to get going in the early stages, but it's not like Domino are any slouches once the game goes post 25-30 minutes. Jax is going to be a terror in a side lane, and Blink is going to be doing a load of damage with those feathers as well.
I think I'll also say here as well that you've got a Jax and a LeBlanc who's likely going that static shift. In fact, you can check the inventory. There's the sword. There's the dematerializers. We know what build that's going to be. You've got a really scary 1-3-1 with the ability to dive with the Lee Sin and the Rel roaming, and Xayah can try and stay safe in the mid lane. Like, if you get to a point where the Jax and the LeBlanc are kind of shoving with very few options to deal with them, you get quite tricky, though. I am watching Snabby on a ward here, and I want to know what is going to be done about it.
Go on, PP, just step up.
Just do it.
You know you want to. Just into a first blood.
Just auto it. Just auto it.
Oh, the flash immediately! Snabby says, absolutely not. Resonating strike follows over the wall. Shackle with first blood.
Phenomenal stuff. He did it. He took the bait. He took the bait. Oh, Kindred players around the world scream in sorrow. We've all done it.
I'm sorry. Can we talk about how illegal that is?
Yeah.
Like, yes, we can. Yeah, we can. Go on.
PP Bat, just don't step up. You have a W, which is so long range to interrupt the recall.
Well, he's got an L at the moment. I think...
Do you guys remember that prop that I told you about in the green room?
Yeah.
It's fully enforced.
What was the prop? I forgot what the prop was.
I've got Fraud Watch live on air.
I've got the Fraud Watch. Oh, yes.
That's it.
Sorry, Rudid. I'm not used to actually listening to what you say.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody is.
Relevant, so, you know.
Fair enough. This is going to slow down PP Bat in terms of his clear, obviously, so not going to be able to get a leash, but it does mean that Snarby was delayed getting to that bot lane, so Moxos and Garfield were able to get first move on the wave.
You just bot lane?
I'll look into that one. Snabby taken lower than he might like, but not too much more to be found, and all the while, Kindred no flash, giving first blood over to Lee Sin in a matchup that's already a little bit tricky for the Kindred. It turns out being an AD carry versus Lee Sin can sometimes be a challenge, and the ability to kick Kindred out of the ultimate does suck. Slightly unfortunate start, shall we say, for Vanir.
And I think that the other part of this is as well that it actually delayed the clear a little bit, I want to say, just because of the timing on the death.
Yeah.
Is that he got back to the jungle at a little bit of a later juncture. Now, I don't think that that's really mattered too much. Shackle is at the same CS and hasn't even farmed his Krugs yet, the notoriously longest camp to clear, where we actually see PP Bat has fully managed to pick that up. So the deficit, not the worst in the world so far.
We'll just note. Go on, Middlecott, what you got?
Deficit you still gave over,
yeah.
right?
We
need to make sure we're talking about that.
Maybe
a gank in the mid lane. Harbo flashes away. Shackle ward hops forward, gets the kill, and we're talking about this Lee Sin needing to get active in the early game. He's done exactly that.
Oh, he's just not living up to his namesake. There are no shackles on this man. He's unhinged. He's unchained. 2-0.
Yeah, and Garfield's looking like he hates Wednesdays at the moment. Stun onto Kitana in the top lane. Spooder already bullying around the Renekton, and this matchup doesn't get better for you.
Oh, they're going to try and invade. Oh, hang on. Go on, Shackle. Face check. I dare you. Look, there's a Nautilus here. He's so lonely. No, it's not going to happen. Okay. We tried.
Amazed that Moxox is just able to, stay at least in experience range. Would have really liked to see a full extension into the lane there. I mean, Clover's used all of his buttons. Unfortunately, you're playing Longsword LeBlanc. The majority of your damage through these early stages is going to come from those auto attacks. And Harbo, I'm more than happy to trade back, already having gone down once in this laning phase, but still finding advantages in the trades at the very least.
Let's peek back. You ready? I'm going to look for this one. Oh no, that's a lot of damage back. Blink's in trouble.
Snarby also going to be focused down as he's on his lonesome kill. Hopefully going to get donated over to Monster, but no! The shield comes through from the safeguard. The flash forward Garfield connects onto the well. Shackle completely sells out his support, and Vanir get their first kill of the game.
Now, in fairness, that's a good flash from Shackle. Your support is the one that is supposed to die there. If you're, giving over the bounty as well, it doesn't feel good. And Snarby, yes, it feels bad. Maybe he might have been able to dodge it had he have known that he was going to be trying to tank it. But is the correct targets to fall if you are Domino in that bot lane play. But Vanir do get themselves a response kill, able to put a little bit of gold into their Kai'Sa's back pocket. And once again, a reminder for those that missed yesterday, Moxox here, the substitute AD carry for Vanir while Liam Cole isn't able to play, had a monster performance yesterday, genuinely showed up and deserved the win that he got them versus Verdant.
Well, he deserved the MVP that he got for that game as well. A little bit of a wild turtle chaos situation. For those of you that have been watching League of Legends for way too long. But Snarby, being top side of the map at 5 minutes in, because that's just the sort of player that he is. And Shackle, after picking up those 2 kills, is really accelerated on the Lee Sin. Already got that Iron Spike whip that is going to help out his clear, and a couple of extra longswords for a bit more damage.
Just more swords for a monk. That sounds like a great idea. Not like he fights with his fists and kicking people. But, I try not to think too hard about the fact that, weapons in League of Legends don't matter that much, in the sense it's just it's okay that this, giant crocodile just happens to have, I don't know, a long sword. That's just normal.
Well, and Spooder's there on the Jax, desperately trying to convince the DM that a lamppost is a staff and not an improvised weapon.
Right, exactly.
I knew it was going to take maybe 2 sentences before we got to real weapon buttons, and I'm just happy that you managed to circumvent that and make it as small a time as possible so it wasn't just eating away at me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you were like, oh, I see rude dudes.
It was low-hanging fruit middle, very low-hanging, I'm going to be honest.
No. Where's this backhand comment? I'm there with you. That was a great little
It was a
sentence.
D&D reference.
It's like... He just doesn't appreciate quality.
No,
that's
that's why he likes casting with me. Domino, we're going to be starting up this dragon around about 1.5 minutes after it spawns, so a little later than we sometimes see. But Vanir willing to contest them. Garfield, PP Bat moving over, but Clover7 also level 6 flash engaged from Snarby, but this one a little bit less clean than the time before. Harbo with the level 6 dropping the damage onto Snarby, but Garfield is taken out of the equation. It's 2 kills for Domino. Moxox on the run. Clover7 finishes him off.
Nice skirmishing. Drake not going to go down. Both junglers out of the fight. No smite either. Means that it will be once again a return to this Drake if these teams see fit. 3 for 1. Domino coming out on top.
At the very least, you do get a hold of the Lee Sin. That stops that dragon coming down, as you said. And then, it'll delay a little bit. But honestly, Domino playing with a bit of verve there.
Ooh.
Oh, boy, that's damage.
Damage in the top lane. Katana potentially at risk might be able to turn it around onto Spooder. Flash is available for both top laners. A full Fury Renekton is something to behold, but Snarby could be a potential second victim. The slice and dice flash away.
I thought Kitana would double kill there, I'm going to be honest.
I was kind of there with you, honestly. I thought there might be a Q or a W cooldown that led to some dead members.
We were wrong, unfortunately.
I know. That's actually quite disappointing.
Yeah.
Actually, oh, wait. Peter Barrett. You're level 6, but Shackle's not far off. Where it goes from there's Garfield. Fading.
Kindred's currently 2 stacks.
Okay.
4
is
the power point.
It is.
I think Foxtrot mentioned that yesterday. You get the juicy extra range. You get a nice little bit of
4, then 7. Yeah.
Ability to actually skirmish instead of being fairly weak, and Conqueror as well for PP Bat. Not the.
There you go.
Again, not the early game rune choice that you like to see, but again, scales very well into that late game.
Sorry, but I thought you were about to say something interesting.
I was about to say anything, but I forgot to press the button to say that we're about to say something, so that's kind of on me. But Domino activated on what they needed to do, right? The mid jungle is working. We've got 4 kills, 4 kill participation for Shackle, 100% kill participation for Clover7, and that might go up in the mid lane if Harbo wasn't able to push back the LeBlanc. But this is exactly what we were talking about, right? 73 CS at 9 minutes is not insane for a mid laner, but if Clover7's moving out onto the map and getting kills, he doesn't care that he's dropping a couple of melees.
And this is a guy as well, when we were looking at his stats, he was like, what was it, lowest kill participation on average for mid laners? This game, he's got involved with every single good lane. He's just in the league in general. It wasn't just mid laners. He just had the lowest kill participation, bar none. This game, he's involved with everything. This game, he's got the static shift early. Like, exactly what you need to see when you're drafting Elise and LeBlanc. Both of them have done a really good job in this early game. That's against a run of play, and it's a refreshing look for Domino's mid lane.
And you're doing it against a team that you really need to be doing it. Reminder, both these teams tied at 4 and 7. The last playoff spots both within their grasp, but Domino are the team that have the advantage in this matchup for the time being. Only 1,000 gold to the good for themselves, and Vanir definitely have scaling options if the snowball isn't being built up.
Is hanging around this top side, and Spuda, just a touch careful about how willing he is to shove too far. In we go. Maybe this is the look. Counter-Strike comes down, looking for the stun. Will not be able to get too much further than that. Kind of fizzles out before it can really begin. All the while, though, you check on the minimap and guess where the Lee Sin is. He's on Herald. Just about spawned a couple minutes ago.
And top laners, obviously we're seeing actually Katano base now, but having that nice little willingness to scrap means that whoever's coming out on the favourable end of those trades is going to be the one who has first move up to this top side. And worth mentioning as well that we actually saw Snobby up here much earlier than Garfield, giving that support priority to Domino and the numbers advantage to them as they move in to take the Drake. Now, Static Shift finished for Moxox down on that bot side of the map means that he's going to be more than capable of holding 1 versus 2, because there's going to be that timer. Snabby's done a very good job at making himself present on the top side of the map for that Herald take, and now can look for a play on this bot side. If you time that well with a Clover 7 roam, diving on that bot side was a possibility. It looks like they're looking to stop something happening on this top side instead, though.
That, I believe, was the 4th mark. Range increases in, and you get that at 11 minutes. Peepybat very pleased with the stack right there. Yes, the early kills are a bit rough, but Mark 4 is always something to see. The standard back in the day was 18 minutes for 4 marks. Decent early here at the pro game.
Yeah, Mark's suffering from hyperinflation. I don't know where I've heard that one before, but
No.
High-hanging fruit, Middlecott, well done.
Thank you very much. I paid attention in Year 9 history. That's what I'm going to say to that fact. But PPBat, I like that we are highlighting, because we said before this game he does need to put up a bit of a stronger performance. And while Shackle has been here, there, and everywhere, the Kindred has kept up. And the fact that she's on this Trinity Force, matching the Gorge anchor from Shackle, is a good sign for Vanir.
I do want to zoom out a little bit, if I get the chance to. Top laners. Stop. Naughty. I'm trying to talk about the game. Now, remember, we highlighted that Vanir had an opportunity to play more absorption-focused in their composition. That hasn't particularly changed. And looking at how easily the engages come through for Domino, and once again, it's fairly reliant on Shackle, on Snabby, these 2 core pieces from the Domino roster, to see if they can sort of fully fledge out how those engagements work. But I also want to attribute a very high amount of side lane control to Domino. Their 1-3-1 capability as the game gets later and later, also extremely high. Clover should be able to poke out Harbour without Harbour particularly being able to answer. And Spuda in this Jax Renekton matchup does just get better and better for the Jax as the game goes later and later.
Still, the game as it stands, even enough, even if Domino are the ones with a nominal lead of about 900 gold, and that's something they can at least work with, as they will likely come and drop this Herald and try and get significantly more of an advantage here, as the number of plates likely going to the grateful arms of Blink.
Yeah, sort of been a little bit bored this game. We've had Spuda constantly beating down on Katano in the top lane, and Clover 7 getting a load of kills. Blink, and you'll miss him, but he's not going to miss that gold at all. Garfield could be in danger.
In comes the ult, and they do indeed say hello. It's a lot of damage into the dredge line, and of course that depth charge Snappy goes down to PPBat. How much further can they chase? Look at Harbour on the other side. He's got a flash, he's got a scout of the week, and a prayer, and instead the dredge line has to be ward hopped away from. But a nice quick kill, and of course Dragon spawning in about a minute, and Vanir will be the ones who'll be able to control vision and set themselves up for it.
Once again, play on the other side of the map is actually just going to be in the mid lane. We saw Harbo move down to this bot side. It gives a plate over to Clover 7. Shackle spotted out PPBat the same, but again, support prio in favour of Vanir. Not to say that Shackle won't fancy this one.
Oh, it's going to be a kick out, surely! PPBat gets the ult down. It's in such a tricky position. Gets over the wall! Just about alive. Oh my days, Blink!
Oh, he's going on an absolute madness into the backline. Aggressive ult, but now he's on his own.
It's so low. It's going to go. He got the control, but what about the trade back? The Feather's so much damage to get Harbour on the other side.
Oh, Vanir's trying to play it out, but they can't do it. It's kills going over to Domino. Garfield escaping on the bottom side. Clover 7, just a couple more hits. That one goes to Shackle.
Executed with the Sonic Wave. Domino find the fight in their jungle, and Vanir massively overstep.
That was something. I honestly thought after Blink flashed into the wall there, over the wall into the Dragon Pit, it was going to get really messy. But Domino just play with the style we've seen a little bit of this game. They are playing really, really confidently.
That's another early game that they needed to accelerate, like the one against Natives yesterday. That time they weren't able to do it. This time they are doing it emphatically. And now, as we get later, Structure's going to start falling on the sideline. And it makes harder and harder for Vanir to contest around those objectives.
I do want to look quickly, right? We've been hyping up PPBat and his stack checks. Unfortunately, Harbo stacks, they're doing the complete opposite. Has just hit 60.
Yeah.
Has had 2 points in Q and 0-2-0 on the Syndra. Not particularly having that impact. That fight that we just saw around the Dragon, he didn't have this finished Ludens, was just sat on components. So it had been a really weak point in the Syndra's team fighting stage.
A lot of damage going into the Jax. He's in trouble.
Yeah, Spuda puts up the helicopter. It's going to get chased down. Flash invested from Kitano. PPBats with his third kill of the game.
I was about to say that, compare that Syndra to how the last game was going, and you can sort of see it's all falling apart. And then Vanir do make a decent play on the other side of the map, but it's coming at a cost. You've traded your Jax for the Dragon, that's number 2, and a tower in mid lane. Pretty good, but how far is this Nautilus willing to go?
So Infernal Rift this time out, and 2 Drakes already in for Domino. Again, we saw the power of a soul last game. It definitely helped out. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to seal the deal. But if there's 2 Infernal Drakes in the back pocket for Domino, then obviously going to be quite nice for them in that later stage as 2 turrets actually fall for Domino, one of them being very high priority with the amount of gold that falls in that second tier turret.
I will at least say that because Jax didn't have the teleport, the extended trade for Vanir is they do get that top lane turret as well, but it's still a trade down. It's still a step up for Domino, and it does feel like Domino are largely the ones making the better proactive plays and punishing a little bit more cleanly. The Lee Sin, the LeBlanc are in just way more plays than their opposite numbers.
Yeah, we need to be aware of Moxox, though, on this Kai'Sa. Had that static shiv a little while ago and is rapidly approaching the Nash's tooth. The poke that can come out from this pick is absolutely unreal, and whilst Domino have got tools to close the distance, if you're not able to find reliable damage after closing the distance, then Vanir are always going to have the range advantage on your comp.
We got to see as well around the fight around that Dragon a little bit earlier on, the power which this Lee Sin provides in terms of kicking somebody out of that Kindred ultimate now. If somebody sticks around a little too long in there, or if PPBat isn't quite on top of how he needs to position himself relative to the Lee Sin, may end up costing them quite dearly. Herald secured though for Domino, and I think that given the state of the game, the state of the map, it seems appropriate that Vanir concede this. But it looks like we're seeing PPBat opt into this bot side, secure himself another mark. Puts him at 6, not quite 7.
Marks.
But
this will be 1 mark off it.
It's a good little stack for the Kindred to be getting.
It absolutely is. And again, that second range increase is at 7, and then Kindred becomes significantly harder to deal with how much the range is, as Spuda under tower, being attacked again. Vanir just trying to attack this Jax over and over. Depth charge comes on down. You can see the crown above him. In goes Moxox, and I think it's a dead Jax middle court.
Yeah, that stopwatch buys no time at all, and Vanir going to be able to take him out. But meanwhile, Domino actually making a play on the top side of the Rift, able to take that tier 2, and are going to get a shove onto the inhib tower.
I'm going to get a charge onto the inhibitor tower as well here. Domino not able to stop that. Very low HP bars on that inhibitor turret, and Clover 7 with the maneuverability of a LeBlanc feels more than emboldened to step up a little bit. So again, it's 1 kill on the bot side of the map, but we look at the amount of kills that came through on the flip side. PPBat must have marked Spuda when he went for that kill, so
he did.
There you go. More attack speed, more attack range, just, again, every single time, going up and up.
Huge spike there indeed. And of course, the problem is, yes, you got the mark for the Kindred, and that is great. Genuinely phenomenal thing. Unfortunately, once again, you trade the Jax for a lot of pressure on the other side of the map. Domino are unwilling to give anything cleanly.
And I think that's the key thing, right? Domino are always trading. They are always trading up. When you've got a lead like this, it is so important that you push your pedal to the floor and that you don't give Vanir opportunities to come back in. You can see that the mid lane tier 2 is the only tower outside of Vanir base which is still remaining, and getting that done pre-Baron is a very, very impressive feat from Domino. Now it's about making sure that you're safe on these side lanes. Clover 7 should always have the push. Spuda is going to be fine in that lane as well. You don't want to get caught out.
Well, I was going to say that it's a wasted stopwatch by Spuda, but he's actually just going on your second. Again, Jax with AP scalings on the majority of his abilities, honestly, but a decent one on his ulti gives him just that little extra at first than teams may necessarily give it credit for. But Domino venturing into this bot side jungle here. This cost Vanir in the previous adventure, but they may look for a fight once again. Poke from Moxox, the important part.
Flash from Garfield finds Snubby as he's going to go back in with the Magnet Storm, but he is all on his own. Vanir will burn him down with no fear at all. Clover 7 forcing the Lamb's Respite as Vanir still going forward with the poke. Spuda isolated on his own, hopping away out of the river.
A little bit baited there by the clone from Clover. I thought that W was aiming for Clover. It hit Shackle, but I think it was the clone anyway. So my voice got a little bit higher than it needed to there briefly, but either way, Vanir still not without their own fangs and have got themselves a couple seconds until this dragon spawns. They are strictly at the man advantage, but they've actually backed away. Might not going to be in a position to counter this, I don't think.
Difficult for Vanir to get in here. Used a lot of crucial ultimates just to find that one pick, where Vanir have still got the majority of theirs, right? We've still got the kick, we've still got that Grandmaster's Might from Spuda, so dueling capability is definitely high.
Ooh, Clover 7 getting very aggressive with those distortions again, just jumping in for an auto attack with the static shivets. A reasonable amount of damage on for Vanir, who are bursting down the dragon. We're going into the Grey Street. Shackle steals away the dragon, and I've got no idea what's going on, but it doesn't look great for Vanir. That's a stolen point, and they are being forced back in the river. Clover 7 going to get pulled back in the hook, and Kitano is buying space, but the LeBlanc is not going down and getting kills. Harbo a little bit isolated. Blink off the board. Vanir still going forward. Spuda low HP as Kitano goes over the wall.
Spuda, that spider. So squishy flash won't quite secure the kill. Look at Shackle, look at Clover. They must find a way out. Can they escape? Is there any way out? It is going to be a hair-raising attempt to get away, but they are LeBlanc. They are Lee Sin. I don't think they can follow fast enough.
The LeBlanc, he's just giving W's out for Shackle. Every time that distortion comes up, the safeguard goes with it. And Vanir, they may well lose that dragon, but they play the absorption style of their composition so beautifully. Yes, Garfield goes down, but everybody who goes in never gets back out for Domino. Yes, you've got one distort back for Clover, and that's maybe the exception that proves the rule. But they've got just enough picks, just enough damage to take these team fights. And even at that gold deficit, you have to question, what can Vanir do to try and get themselves closer to parity? Because if a fight looks that good when you're behind, at parity, surely it looks better.
Yeah, but you need to be looking at the timer in the top left of your screen, because in 3.5 minutes, Domino are going to have an opportunity to take away an Infernal Soul. And when you've got a Lee Sin, when you've got a LeBlanc who are at these points of power in the game, that is not something that you want to give over.
Look, the Kindred's got a lot of marks. That feels great. The problem is, on the other side, you're looking at this LeBlanc, who is 2 items ahead of Harbo. Yes, there's not a completion yet through for the Syndra, but is a long, long way behind their opposite number. And Lee Sin versus the Kindred, Lee Sin's doing just fine for all. The Kindred has picked up a fair number of marks, and that could be a real difference breaker. This is Baron being a possibility. Domino fighting for vision around it at the very least.
Still this tier 1 turret standing for Domino, just giving them so much leverage on the map. This is why when we talk about mid-tier 1s falling, how impactful they can be. As Shackle's now been altered.
Well, they have to charge as a teleport. Well, they really want this. He's going to be taken so low. Trying to go on in. Look who is here. Snappy. Not enough. He's taken out. They got the juggler.
Yeah, but they're going to drop the ult onto the support. Spuda buying time. Very defensive ultimates from Vanir. Kitano is a massive croc in the front line, but look at Blink with the feathers, with the damage. Clover 7 going back over the wall, not quite able to connect with the chain. Vanir still giving as good as they get.
It's just out of range. I genuinely thought that W was going to be longer range. You could see the observers were teasing us with it. He gets out alive, but my days, you can see how damn close these fights can be.
Live and die by the Lamb's Respite. The literal nature of the ability, but Vanir were able to sustain for so long in that team fight. Just standing in Kindred ulti, making sure they could never go down, and Domino never got in. 3 carries for Vanir still stand, but Domino, they've still got Clover 7, 4, 0, and 6. Just harassing anybody who dares to step up.
Playing with
Breathe.
such a freedom. But yeah, we do need to breathe. We do need to calm down a little bit. We've been offered another close run thing, and Domino are DPSing down the Baron. Snubby going over the wall to try and interrupt PP back from getting in, but the Kindred has a lot of mobility. Spooner getting out there as well. There is no chance to get into the pit for Vanir. And Clover 7 is even going to get killed for his time.
He crit there, by the way. And I mean, Clover had been weaving in quite the few auto attacks. He was due a crit, but he put PP back down to 30% HP with just 3 distortion forwards and auto attacks with Lich Bane and Night Harvester and the Static Shiv. I think he's piloting this LeBlanc absolutely exceptionally. I've had criticisms of him in previous weeks, but this week can't fault him at all.
Eyes on the time at the top of your screen. A minute till Infernal Dragon. Baron to work with as well. Domino about to get a shove in. This LeBlanc at 3 times. Oh no, that's
Right, everybody sit down. Make sure your camera's on.
Let's go.
Oh, God, so what's tonight's podcast episode? What are we discussing this evening then, lads?
Static Shiv.
Yeah, okay. Why is it called Static Shiv if I see it move so much? What's going on there?
It's the stabbing motion. That's the Shiv part. You just move it really fast. Just a lot of like LeBlanc just teleporting in to go. You know what? Right. This is a deep cut.
Okay.
All
right.
Do you remember the Futurama episode where Fry moves in with the psychopath robot? And there's a psychopath robot, it's like a tiny little closet, and he's just going, "I'm here to practice my stabbing." He's going, "Aha!" As he's in this tiny cupboard and stabbing with the knife. That's kind of what I picture LeBlanc is like with a Shiv. Just teleporting forward to yell "aha" and stab people with a big sort of electric knife.
It's actually just the British build, right? It's like all right, bro.
That is so rough.
Yeah, I think that's a swift pivot. That's a good joke. A swift pivot afterwards, though.
All right, there we go. Straight out the east end and into the rift instead.
Okay,
9 stacks for Kindred. That's a big mark for the Kindred. It's scary. 94 stacks for Syndra. They're both still scaling really well. Yes, the gold is rough, but they are still getting to a point where they're not without their own teeth, right?
When we hit 100 stacks for Harbo, again, 100 splinters is the execute threshold. Domino, they want Kitano.
Is this actually a kill? Is there a way that you can get a kill here? Sonic
Wave.
Wave. Going down, but close are going to get caught by the dredge line!
Oh, he's solo shackle, has to flash. They get away with it. My days, I thought Clover was dead to rights.
That went through him!
I'm there with you.
Living on borrowed time, employing some tricks that are maybe not suitable for the rift, but Clover 7 still going forward every single opportunity. Garfield going over the wall!
He's a snobby with the Mega Storm and Blank. He's trying to throw it down. He's back, but they've lost. The Rel on the other side. Clover doing a lot of work. Kitano goes down as well. They've got 2. How much further they want to go?
Oh, these fights are being played on an absolute knife's edge. This is Soul. If Vanir give it up, they can't do this. But they've not got the option. Harbo's going to thwart the escape at Clover 7.
Oh, you? Flies again. Doesn't do that much. I'm just saying, if Harbo had a few more stacks, had a slightly more aggressive game, a slightly better game, that was a dead LeBlanc.
Yep.
Decidedly dead. Oh, no. Okay, all right. Big IQ Moxox. High IQ. Very well played. When he finishes Ludens, these W start to hurt, by the way. And this is, again, could not be a better indicator for 3-item Kai'Sa hitting way harder than 2-item Kai'Sa, and the difference being like quite palpable. Observers, I see what you're doing to us here.
That's just that's. I'd like to raise a complaint to the balance team.
So I
don't BM like this.
I just want to say, Freak did release a video, and I know that's a dangerous word to start a statement with, but the damage that Static Shiv is adding, when it's in a balanced state on AP Champions, isn't actually that much more than you get for just getting a normal item. And I know that I'm saying that whilst Clover 7 is 1v1ing Harbo, but please bear with me, right? Normal items give a lot of damage. They just don't have a little indicator which shows how much, okay? I promise you this item is balanced, guys. I promise.
I would be interested to see, like, end-game damage graph, you see what I mean? And, like, on... Like, if you're versing Static Shiv versus a comparable build that's supposed to do, like, similar amounts of damage, whether the damage graph looks that different.
I also want to remind people, this is like the quintessential solo queue moment, where you're like, well, any champion that's 7-0, 7-10 stack Dark Seal does this much damage to you, even if you throw in a wonky item.
That's fair. And I also, Static Shiv. Well, what patch are we on? Is it 13? Oh, we definitely on 13. There was a little bit of debate. It is 13. Good. Just double check. So obviously, Shiv isn't at its most busted it was in 13-12 and 13-11, where it was exceptionally strong. So it is tuned down from its halcyon days of eviscerating players and minions alike with a single right click.
I mean, even so, Clover 7's been able to use it for incredible effect. 3 levels up on Harbo and was able to break that top lane inhib tower as well. So Domino, whilst they haven't been able to make too many aggressive moves directly into the base of Vanir, they've now got a window where they can force themselves in.
I appreciate what Vanir tried there. They were just hanging around over that wall, seeing whether Clover would be a little too eager to shove up, feeling a little too confident and be in range for a CC chain. Doesn't happen. But, I appreciate the look because it's not the easiest moment. Still not 120 stacks. Shards, splinters, found the right terminology eventually.
Cinderbooks. Cinderbooks is the easy one.
Cinderbooks. I don't want to use Cinderbooks.
Why?
I just have an aversion to it. I just decided.
Understood.
Right now. Yeah.
this second.
Arbitrarily.
It's too American for me.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been asked for an opinion, and with no thought before at all, it just instantly, this is what I think.
Yep.
That's what you got.
Right. Clover has Rabadons.
Ooh, Mr. James! Actually, needs to be a little bit careful, and they go. Remember, LeBlanc doesn't always win that well against the Kaiser. So lobbing forwards. The test starts afterwards, and Moxos just gets away with it. My God.
So I want to shout out Moxox there. Garfield gonna drop for the sins of his bot lane, and PP still able to fire out with a little bit of damage. Yeah, you really don't want to mess with an Infernal Soul LeBlanc. That could have been so much worse, though. Moxox with a really smart overdrive there on the Kaiser to dodge away from Clover 7, trying to walk in with a Q with an auto attack, but he was still on about 2 HP by the end of that play. So even if you play it well, even if you do everything that you should do, it still doesn't work out half the time.
Buy the book. Buy the book.
Go to your library and take out your local Medjais. I promise you won't regret it, Clover. Just do it. All the while, there's a Baron happening, and Kitano's having a recall. They want Clover.
I don't care about the Baron, Sam.
LeBlanc is more important. She's gone.
Do you subscribe to the philosophy that buying a Medjais grants you 1-3 death? Like, as soon as I buy a Medjais, I die instantly.
I think that might be because you're bad.
Yeah, no. Aren't you an AD carry main, Rude?
Yeah, why are you buying? Why are you buying? Is this for? Is this? Hang on. What?
Hold on.
Clover?
Right. Well, that's going to slow down his stacking, right?
He could have 14 stacks right now.
I mean, you and Nightmare clearly share a brain cell on this one.
Medjais is so strong, man. It's
so strong.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Especially on LeBlanc. Like, you don't die ever on this champion if you play it well. Clover has been playing it well, hasn't died. Thoughts?
Maybe you should buy a Medjais. And Domino playing into a pretty effective sort of split map scenario at the moment. Clover 7 taking down another tower, and I think Katana's dead, guys.
He might be. He's going to flash away. How much further can they go? Coming back. They're turning around. Spoon is surely about to die, but he's in the Lamb's Respite.
Sonya's buying him time, keeping him alive, and Domino goes for a re-engage. The power of the Infernal Soul is way too much for Vanir to deal with.
Time stops for no man, but it'll stop for a girl and a horse. Tries to buy some time damage onto one. They get at least one back. But look who's alive. It's still Blank and Clover. Maybe they've got a little too far. They don't have that many outbars. Never mind. Clover says no. Now Peabat's in trouble.
Kitano trying to put up one last defense, but the feathers are pulled through the Renekton.
That's it.
They ruined that pelt, but that is a win. Domino will take down Vanir. They'll take out the Nexus. GG!
GG!
Exactly!
11, 0, and 10 for Clover 7.
Foul!
Not a bad
Gross.
performance.
Really, really gross.
Static Shiv? Question mark?
Maybe it's OP. Maybe it's OP. Maybe I was talking out my ass a little bit.
Middlecott, Freak made a video.
Freak made a video. I did say that.
That's my counterpoint.
I will also say that serious credit over to Clover for taking an early lead, taking an early assist onto an overstep from Piggyback, who just fell for the earliest tweak in the book. That wall, they know they're on a wall. They know what's going on. And then basically, Shackle early game led into Clover becoming pretty much unmatched. And then he played with Verve that we don't normally get to see because he's not normally in this position in the game. He's normally down Sigmund Advanced in CS. He's normally locked out of games. We kind of get to see Clover at his best this game, and it felt really good to see.
I also want to ask a question here, because the Vanir side put too many resources into shutting down Spooner on this Jax, because I feel like every time we saw 4 people move on to the Jax, they were losing like 2 towers in the other lane, Rooted.
I think they put, it may not have been into putting Jax down, more so getting Renekton ahead. I unfortunately just never saw Kitana doing too much in a team fight. I also don't think I saw Kitana doing too much in team fights. On like the flip side of that, it's not a criticism of either one of these two, but the game was played elsewhere on the map. We saw Moxox do as best as he could on the Kai'Sa to try and shut down the LeBlanc, and we saw the LeBlanc absolutely destroy everybody. Top lane was just not the focal point, even when it's Jax versus Renekton.
Also, this game was just high octane all around initialized. I mean, you look at it, like, I have just written down like high tempo game with more kills than like minutes there was in the game. Like, that was just like action all around. There was never that moment of like respite. You kind of just sit back and relax.
No, and good job, Domino. Because yesterday you didn't accelerate with an early comp versus natives, despite the fact that you were doing well. And the game got to 20 minutes and it got turned around on you. Domino were always going for something. They were always keeping Vanir under pressure, and they didn't allow them to set up and ever get that big, easy mid-game team fight on even itemization that we know that this team can pull off. So I think there's a strong recognition of what you need to do to overcome your opponents, and you execute on the plan. It's especially good for Domino, considering that Vanir were one of those teams alongside them in the standings. This is massive for playoff implications.
Yeah, they just tied up with Nord. That's what the end results with that is. They are now tied for 4th, and Nord are really lamenting the fact that they didn't pull it together against Ruddy. That's a big, big deal. And, you know, Domino actually looking a lot better than I've seen them across the last few weeks in a lot of ways. They were trading when plays were happening against them, and they were never giving anything for free that game. And that is a really good sign. Yes, it came off perhaps a slightly unusual scenario in the fact their mid lane was so ahead, but credit to them for using that power and translating it into a relatively convincing win.
It does give them 2-0 head-to-head over Vanir as well, that win for Domino. So like unequivocal in a tiebreaker situation that it's now good for them if they end up going even in that situation as well.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, right? Because now we're talking about the overall implications of what is going to happen in these standings, right? Especially when you look into the matches coming up after this one, right? Like, because let's say that Natives beats 4-4, then that fight for the final spot all of a sudden, it's going to involve Nord and Domino for the most part, right? So, like, really, really massive win coming through here, and, like, I mean, it must just be an amazing feeling to sit with, right? Like, to be honest, initialize.
Yeah, and it puts pressure on all the other teams. That's the deal, right? That we always knew that these couple games were going to be very, very key for those teams who were in the running for the playoff spot. For all that certain teams had advantages, these are the big ones, especially against your direct rivals, because it's not only a win to you that puts you into position with 4. It also takes a win away from someone who would otherwise be challenging you for that spot. Of course, the work's not done. More games to play. There's another week left, and that could get very spicy yet still, but it is a really important tick mark. Hell, I would count it as 2 tick marks, because again, it's your own win, and it's a 1 away from a rival.
Yeah, and it's also, considering... Oh,
I'm just
the ticks moving around, incredible stuff.
I mean, you gotta set them on 2 separate parts of the paper middle cut, right?
Absolutely, and I think when we consider pre-split expectations for Domino, it was, okay, this is a team that had a rough showing in spring, but they've kept a couple of core members. I think Snabi and Shackle, again, showing why that faith was placed in them. But it was, okay, can this team sneak into the playoffs? And coming in to the final week of the season, they're in a position to do just that.
All right, we have an interview ready with the best dressed man in the NLC, and today I cannot match him. It is going to be the man, the myth, the legend in the top lane on the side of Domino. Congratulations on a great win. I'm just rocking a... I'm just rocking a base grade t-shirt today, so I'm not contesting you today.
There were some incidents, we could say, and sadly we almost had Olaf Doris matchup again. You know, we were this close to success. We were this close, but you know, drafts and stuff, we had to skip the Doris Olaf matchup this time.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to play Jax this game, but I feel like you were just mainly playing distraction more so than like actual carry, because like every time you died in the mid game, your team just took 2 towers. How was that game plan kind of going on comms for you?
The first death was complete from me, you know, I'm a goddamn monkey for that death. That was so bad. The second death, like, we knew about it, and I was like, if they see me backing off, you know, with a blue ward or something, they'll just back and we'll maybe, you know, get 1 tower less. And I was like, I think this trade is fine, you know, I'm gonna go bot, I have a stopwatch ready, I have my ult, I have my E, I have Q. I was like, I'm just gonna buy time, I don't care about this, you know, we got 3-4 towers in return. I was like, give me that trade, you know, give me that trade.
Yeah, so you mentioned the stopwatch here. I kind of want to talk to you on your itemization here, right? Like, you're opting in for that Sonya's Hourglass second item, I believe. So kind of talk to us why you went with the more AP-centric route on Jax, more so than, like, would you say, like the traditional Bruiser angle?
Enemy team has, like, a lot of... For example, Kindred ult, when she ults, she buys a lot of time, right? So what my idea was that if I have Zhonya's combined with my E, I can sometimes buy second time for my, you know, I use my E, buy some time, Zhonya's, I'll get my E back. So I can get multiple rotations of E. And since they have a lot of burst, this was really great. And in some teamfights, you know, when Kindred ults, what I can do is E, stun them, and then I'll Zhonya's, you know, and buy that time for my team to do what they do. Because we're not lacking damage, right? We're just lacking more CC and stun and activation for the team.
Awesome. So again, now we're going into the final week of the NLC regular split. Next week, you guys are going to have to go up against the sides of Verdant and North. And especially that last one against North could be all decisive in terms of you guys getting that playoff spot. That must be super exciting to go into.
Yeah, like the Northern matchup is the most, you know, important one, the one that I'm excited for, because whoever wins that one is like almost guaranteed for playoffs, right? There are some other things that can happen, but basically. So we're gonna make sure that to get that dub there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Spooter, and best of luck next week.
Yes, have a nice day.
You too. Well, guys, we got to hear it from the horse mouth himself here about the. Is that even a saying in English, by the way?
Straight from the horse's mouth, yes.
Straight from the horse's mouth. That's the phrase, yeah. That's
the phrase, yeah. Okay, you know, I know some Danish phrases, some German phrases, some English phrases. Let's just put the two.
You could just teach him the wrong phrases, guys, and he wouldn't know.
Oh, that would never be done on
NLC. That would never happen on the NLC. Never done on the NLC before. But no, I want to talk to you guys because we're going to get to hear his thoughts on this Sonya's second item route. I believe you were talking a little bit about it on the cast. Did that kind of align with your reasoning and your explanation as well during the game?
Not even close to it, but I'm not going to say that he's wrong. I'll just take the L, right? I said it gives him more burst on his ult. That was just not what he was after it for. So, hold my hands up. More rotations, more ability haste. It makes sense. The guy knows what he's doing way more than I do. If I played top lane Jax and, you know, tried to play this game, I would be absolutely pummeled, so...
And Spooter's opponent in the top lane last game was Katano.
Message.
He will also be our next interviewee, so let's head right into the interview with Katano.
Hello.
Hello, Katano. We've gone from so all right. I'm gonna make this one quick, right? But we've gone from the fully suited up man to someone that is suited up in nature's best, right? But so kind of walk us through that game. You had to play Renekton. It seemed okay. I know there's a whole meme with like being Renekton in French. I guess you kind of felt like you had a little bit more impact on that guy in the contest, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Renekton pick was good. Like, it's the best blindable pick you can take, and I think it's a very strong top laner at the moment. Jax is the common answer to the pick, and yeah, it's a classic matchup that I think the lane was pretty well played from both of us. But yeah, I think like he did not that much mistakes. Maybe once when I took his flash and I didn't flash, but yeah. I think it was a really good pick, but at the end, when LeBlanc is too ahead, it's hard to play the map.
Yeah, so it kind of did seem like it was really hard for you guys to play the map, because whenever you tried to really play the map, right, by shutting down Spooter and trying to push the tempo that way around, you just kind of started losing towers on the opposite side of the map here. Like, how hard was it to kind of deal with that cross-map aggression, quote-unquote, coming through from Domino in this game?
You know, it's hard to play when LeBlanc is enabled in the game, and when she's sent in like inside lane with that much golds and stuff, it's hard to stop him. So we have to cross map because we won't take any singles and we can defend him. And I think we did it pretty well, but it's not worse for us because, yeah, of course they are taking more goals than us. And I think Spooder, like, don't care of dying inside because he knows he's taking more at the other side of the map. But yeah, still we had to go for it and try something at the end, but didn't get the win.
Right. Thank you so much for your time, Katano, and best of luck next week.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, I'll be a little bit higher seeded as well because I need to get the best seed in the house for the final game of the day. It's going to be Natives versus 4-4. Natives chasing down that first place. 4-4 trying to keep himself in playoff contention. Don't go anywhere.